Hi friends, welcome back. Today we are going to be making another batch of freezer meals. So it is our busiest time of year, well maybe busiest. Like late spring is super busy for us and early fall is super busy for us. And one of the things that we can do to make our lives easier, to save money so we're not eating out, and to save us time to where we can actually have some peaceful family time in the busy time is to do freezer meals. Now the trick to that is you need time to do freezer meals. However, we are going to be doing some quick freezer meals today. And not only that, we have some dear friends that are moving back to Oklahoma from Colorado that we were so excited about. Are we excited? Yeah. And they have two sweet little girls and another on the way. And we wanted to make sure that they moved back with a freezer full of freezer meals so that they can unpack and not have to worry about dinner and kind of have a peaceful transition time. So we're gonna double up our freezer meals today. We're making 10 recipes, but we're actually making 20 meals. We're gonna do 2 of each so that we can go take these recipes to them. Are y'all excited? We'll get to go see them on Sunday evening. That'll be so much fun. So I've got Taylor and Michaela helping with me, and we are gonna start by chopping everything because that really does cut down on our time. If you're having to stop with every freezer meal and chop one onion or chop this, it takes a long time. So if we can get everything chopped, then all we're gonna have to do when we compile the freezer meals is dump and go, and it makes it way quicker. So in order to do this, I compile a list of the freezer meals we're making every time, and then I just go through one at a time and I say, for this recipe, I'm chopping 3 onions, check. And then for the next recipe, I'm chopping 2 onions, and then I combine it all like a checklist. I have a video that talks about kind of my process when planning freezer meal days, and I will link that down below so that you can see that process if you're interested. So for now, let's get to chopping. We've got 11 onions to dice. We've got some things to chop up over here for fajita meat. We've got celery, bell peppers, and potatoes and carrots to chop. And then over here, we've got our meat. We've got some andouille sausage and some chicken breasts to chop up. And once we get all that done, then we will start compiling our meals. Are y'all ready?
Yes.
All right, let's get to chopping. Battle stations ready, go. All right, that was about 20 or 30 minutes and we got absolutely everything chopped. Now it's gonna be as easy as pie to put these together. And really that is just a massive key to quick freezer meal making. And these freezer meals are gonna go really quick. Sometimes we have massive weeks of big fancy freezer meals and soups and all sorts of things. But when we're in a hurry, our go-to freezer meals are freezer fit freezer meals. We love this website. If you want to check it out, I'll put the link below, but I'll also put the ingredients from our recipes so you can follow along if you want. But these all came from Freezer Fit and they are insanely quick. And pretty much all that we've had from Freezer Fit has been really delicious, hasn't it? Taylor is still upset about the onions. She's still weepy over the onion chip, over chopping onions. I had to tag her out. But I know our, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say it's not okay.
It's not okay. But I know our friend Katie has a crock pot and an air fryer and an oven. So we made sure that all of the meals that we're doing can be cooked in either one of those ways. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, the first meal we are gonna make is called Keto Taco Casserole. This one is delicious. We try to make sure, because Katie has several little kids, that we were doing some kid-friendly things. This one is super kid-friendly. So we've got 2 pounds of ground beef, and we're just gonna put this in the Ziploc baggies. And that's 2 pounds per bag. And if you notice, these bags look different. I've got reusable bags for the bags we're keeping, and then I'm giving her disposable bags, so she doesn't have to worry about getting them back to me. Then we've got 2 cans of diced tomatoes with chilies, and I got the mild kind again because we've got kids involved, and sometimes kids don't like super spicy stuff, so we were conscious of that. So 2 cans in each of these bags. And I drained those cans so it's not super soupy down in the bottom. Now I've got a 1/4 cup of taco seasoning mix in each of these bags. Half of a large diced onion, that's about 1/2 cup. One yellow bell pepper, and since we cut 2 for these, I'm just gonna do half of our chopped bell peppers in here and half in here. And again, this orange bell pepper, it calls for 1 in each, so I'm just gonna split these. And that's all that goes in them initially. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is label these bags, and you can hand label them, but Freezer Fit, one of the reasons we love them is they have printable labels you can just stick on the bag that have the crock pot instructions and the oven instructions or whatever, you know, they are. So that's wonderful. There's even a place where you can put a use by date on here. So when it's time to cook these, you're just gonna thaw them in the fridge and then dump them in the crock pot and let it go for 4 hours. You can brown the meat after it's thawed, and that will give it a little more flavor and kind of distribute the seasoning all the way through. That's fine too. Either way, and that's a wrap for this one. Freezer meal 1, ready to go.
All right, so our second project are Cajun pork sandwiches. So our first ingredient is 3.5 pounds of boneless pork shoulder in each of these. I'm feeling like one of them has more pork than the other, but okay, whatever. So now we're going to do a cup of diced yellow onion, or just 1 diced yellow onion. And this is for each of our bags. And we're gonna do a teaspoon of salt. Teaspoon of black pepper. 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Teaspoon of dried onion powder. Teaspoon of minced garlic. Teaspoon of dried oregano leaves. 1/2 teaspoon of celery salt. Two teaspoons of liquid smoke. A cup of chicken broth. Two tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. And that's it. And we're just going to label our bags now. The reheating instructions, we will thaw this and then we will pour the contents into a crock pot. We're gonna cook on high for 4 to 5 hours or low for 8 to 9 hours. until our pork is cooked through and shreds easily. Remove the pork and shred it, and then you'll just put it back in the crock pot, and you can season it and add salt and pepper and serve with like toasted rolls and cheese. So that's it.
All right, next we're gonna be making chicken fajitas, and this is gonna be super quick and super easy. So first we have some chicken. We have 2 pounds of chicken per bag. And I'm just going to dump these in, and make sure you wash your hands after messing with raw chicken. We sliced this up earlier in the video. And then we have 2 tablespoons of olive oil for each of these. A packet of fajita seasoning. And then we have an onion for each of them. And then a red bell pepper and a green bell pepper for each of bags. And you can see here how having everything already chopped up saves a massive amount of time in the prep work. All right, and that is everything already in the bags. It was that quick. So the way you're going to prepare this is you want to thaw it overnight in the fridge first, and then you want to preheat your air fryer to 350 degrees for 5 minutes, and then you will cook this in the air fryer for 15 to 20 minutes, and you flip it over halfway through. There is our chicken fajita recipe. It was super quick and super easy. And when we cook this, we can serve them with tortillas, and we can make beans and cheese and whatever add-ons you want. But there's this recipe, and we will be moving on to the next one.
All right, next we have mozzarella stuffed meatballs. These are gonna take a little more work, but not terribly much, because we are gonna actually form the meatballs and freeze them and then bag them up. So we'll make them and form them now, and then we'll go ahead and put them in bags at the very end. So to make these, we need 1 pound of ground beef per recipe, and we're making 2 recipes, so there's 2 pounds of ground beef, half a pound of Italian sausage each, so 1 pound of Italian sausage, half a cup of almond flour in each of these, so 1 cup of almond flour, half a cup of diced onions, so for double, 1 cup, 1 egg for each of the recipes, 2 eggs total, 1 tablespoon of minced garlic per recipe, so 2 tablespoons total, 1 teaspoon of dried parsley per recipe, so 1, 2. 1 teaspoon of salt per recipe, 1, 2. And then half a teaspoon of black pepper, so 1 teaspoon total. And now we want 1 cup of mozzarella cheese per recipe, so 2 cups here. And now what we're gonna do is mix this up really, really well, and we're gonna make meatballs out of it. And this is easy, but you gotta get your hands dirty. And we're just gonna make our meatballs once we get this all mixed up. And once we get this all mixed together, I find really seriously the easiest way to mix it all is with your hands. You can use a spoon if you want, but since we're getting our hands dirty to make the meatballs anyway, this is just easy. Now the recipe actually calls to add the mozzarella as cubes in the middle. I like it shredded better because it's more evenly distributed, but if you want to follow the recipe precisely and make it as mozzarella cubes, go for it. And you can do a lot of stuff with these meatballs. We're gonna go ahead and make them. You can put them in spaghetti, you can just eat them, you can put them as on a sandwich, however you want to use your meatballs. You don't have to put entirely a whole lot of space on there between the meatballs, you just don't want them touching. So we're just gonna fill this sheet up with meatballs. All right, I have 2 trays of meatballs. I'm gonna put them in the freezer and we're gonna move on to the next freezer meal.
So our 5th project is Cajun chicken Alfredo. So first we're going to put a pound of boneless and skinless chicken breasts cut up into each of these bags. And now we're going to do a teaspoon and a half of Cajun seasoning. One red bell pepper sliced. There's 2 in here. So we're just gonna do half of this. And then 1/3 cup of sun-dried tomatoes. Now we're gonna do a 22-ounce jar of this Prego roasted garlic Parmesan Alfredo sauce in each. Now we can just seal them. So the reheating instructions on this are for the crock pot. From thawed, you should transfer it into your crock pot and you'll cook on high for 2 to 3 hours or on low for 4 to 5 hours until the chicken is cooked through and it shreds easily. Shred the chicken and then return it to the sauce, and then you can stir in the egg noodles and cook for about 15 to 20 minutes or until the pasta is tender. And if sauce is too thick, add additional broth or milk, and then you stir in Parmesan cheese and some seasoning. And that's it.
All right, next we're gonna be making beef stroganoff soup. So for this, we are first gonna be needing a pound of beef stew meat. So I'm just gonna split this in half. Next we have a yellow onion for each of these. So that is a cup of diced yellow onions. So that's roughly a cup going in each of these. Then we have a tablespoon of minced garlic for each. Then we have 8 ounces of baby Bella mushrooms. So that goes in each of these. Then we have 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Okay, next we're going to be using a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce in each of these. A tablespoon of Dijon mustard. Then we have a teaspoon of paprika for each. A teaspoon of salt for each. Then we have a teaspoon of dried basil. Teaspoon of black pepper. And a teaspoon of dried dill. And there's some more stuff that you would add later when you go to cook this, but for now, this is all there is to it. So to cook these, once they're thawed, you want to put them in a crock pot, and you're going to add beef broth. And you cook it on high for 3 to 4 hours, or you can cook it on low for 7 or 8 hours until the beef is completely cooked through and very tender. And at that point, you would add the egg noodles, and if it's not already on high, switch the crock pot to high. And then you would whisk together the milk, flour, sour cream, and then stir that into the crock pot. And from that point, you would cook it for another 30 minutes. And after that, you can season it a little more if you'd like, but at that point it is ready to serve. So there is this. It was super quick, super easy. And now we are moving on to the next recipe.
Next up, we are going to be doing red beans and rice, which is one of our favorites because I'm from South Louisiana. And Colton, who is Katie's husband, happens to be from Southeast Texas, and they have a lot of the same Cajun eating, so we knew that they would appreciate this one. So in each of these bags, I'm gonna put half a pound of andouille sausage. If you don't have andouille sausage, you can go ahead and use smoked sausage. That's totally fine. All right, wash my hands after handling the meat. Now we want a pound of rinsed red beans in each of these. So this is 2 pounds, so I'm just gonna split this in half. If I can avoid making a huge mess. Tablespoon and a half of minced garlic in each of these. 1 green bell pepper in each of these chopped up. And this was 2, so we're gonna split it in half. A handful of celery. It says 3 stalks, but I'm just guesstimating. 1 onion in each of these, which remember is about a cup. And 3 tablespoons of Cajun seasoning. I love Tony's, so that's what we're gonna use. But you can use whatever Cajun seasoning you enjoy. All right, now after you thaw these, you're gonna cook them on your crock pot on high for 7 hours until the beans are nice and tender, and then you can serve it over rice. When you put them in your crock pot, you're gonna wanna put about 7 cups of water in there to add that moisture. And these are another super simple, ready to go meal. All right, I think Michaela's up next.
All right, so our next thing is Cozy Day Soup. And we're going to start with half a pound of beef stew meat in each. So I have a pound in this, and I'm just gonna split it in half. Don't forget, we gotta wash our hands after handling this. 3 peeled and cut potatoes. So this is 6 in this. We're gonna split this in half. Can of diced tomatoes, undrained, in each. 2 cups of beef broth in each. And then baby carrots. We'll have about 2.5 cups of chopped baby carrots in each. One cup of diced onions in each. 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning in each. Tablespoon of minced garlic in each. And that's it. We can just seal these now. This is crock pot, so we'll thaw this overnight in the fridge, and then we'll transfer this into the crock pot and cook on low for 7 to 9 hours, or until the beef and vegetables are nice and tender. And then in a small bowl, we can mix cornstarch and water until it's smooth, and then we'll gradually stir it into our stew. And then cover it and cook it on high 30 to 45 minutes, or until the stew is thick.
All right, next we're gonna be making Olive Garden chicken pasta. So the first thing we're gonna be adding to this is we have 2 pounds of sliced up boneless chicken breasts that we are putting in each of these. So this is 4 pounds total, but we're just going to divide this between them. Make sure to wash your hands in between handling raw meat. After that, we're adding about a tablespoon of, this is garlic salt with parsley, and a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. Then we have a teaspoon of black pepper, and a cup of chicken broth for each of these. And then last of all, we have 2 cups of water to put in each of these. And that is it for this super simple recipe. So when you're cooking this one, you want to put it in a crock pot once it's thawed and cook it either on high for 2 to 3 hours or on low for 5 to 6 hours. And well, really you need to make sure that the chicken is completely cooked through and shreds easily. Then you're going to shred the chicken and stir softened cream cheese into the crock pot with pasta and continue with the crock pot with the pasta. You had pasta then. And then cook that for 30 minutes until the pasta's cooked, and then it is done. So after this, we have one more recipe that my mom will be doing. So we will see you with that one.
One more meal before we go grab the meatballs out of the freezer. This one is Italian wedding soup. I had never heard of Italian wedding soup until I moved to Pittsburgh when I was a teenager, and they had it all over the place, and it was delicious, and it became one of my favorite soups. So Italian wedding soup. We're gonna take a pound of meatballs and put a pound of meatballs in each of these. Now normally Italian wedding soup has tiny little meatballs. These are big meatballs. It'll still taste the same. All right, 1 cup of diced onions, 2 carrots peeled, so I'm just gonna guesstimate that, and 2 celery ribs peeled. Again, I'm just gonna guesstimate. A tablespoon of minced garlic, a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, a teaspoon of salt, and a teaspoon or half a teaspoon of black pepper. So when it's time to cook these, you're gonna thaw these out, and you're gonna cook these in your crock pot on low for 5 to 6 hours or high 3 to 4. And you wanna stir in about 3 cups of baby spinach and a little less than a cup of couscous, which is like this little tiny pasta that's a little ball. And you're gonna cook that for 20 more minutes. And then you can serve this with grated parmesan on top. And it is delicious. All right, let's go grab those meatballs. All right, so now my meatballs are hardened, and I'm gonna divide this evenly up in between my 2 bags. Freezing them beforehand just keeps them from melting together into one big meat wad and when you put them in the baggies. All right, these are simple to reheat. You're gonna thaw them. You're gonna put them in a 9x13 baking dish, pour a jar of marinara over them, and then you're gonna bake them at 375 for 20 to 30 minutes. All right, that is a wrap. High five, girls. We stocked our freezer for another month, and we did good deeds to boot, and we cannot wait to take these up to Katie and Colton and little Emily and Lucy. What do you think Emily and Lucy's favorite is gonna be? Meatballs. Meatballs, I do think they're really gonna like meatballs. The taco casserole though is really kid friendly and good. What else do you think they'll like? I think Mr. Colton will be excited about
all of the Cajun stuff.
The red beans and rice. So I'm excited about that. What are you most excited about eating?
Cajun chicken Alfredo.
Ooh, that looks yummy. How about you, Taylor?
That.
The Olive Garden chicken pasta?
Chicken pasta.
That looks really delicious. Thank y'all so much for helping. And thank y'all so much for watching. Like I said, I will put a link to Freezer Fit down below if you're interested. They have a bajillion recipes and they're super quick and easy, just like that. Pretty much all of them are just dump and go. And so it makes freezer meal prepping day really convenient when you are crunched for time like we are this week. So we wanted to still get some in, we wanted to still bless our friends, and this was a way we could do it really fast. So thank y'all so much for joining us. Have a wonderful day.